Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of Gmodism Drinks. Today we're going to do something extremely simple, but alas, very important. So, when we mix drinks, we commonly use some type of simple syrup, but on keto you can of course not use a regular simple syrup, because it's sugar in it. So what do we do? Well, there are all sorts of sweeteners which you might already use, but there are some sweeteners that are better than others for this application. Now, when we use a simple syrup, we want to add sweetness, but also some texture. And some very strong synthetic sweeteners, like the common ones, or, for example, stevia, can be a little bit too dense and not really what we want. So, to get the right texture for your drinks when making diabetics or keto-friendly drinks, then you would want to use sugar alcohols. Now, this looks like a powder, and that's because it is a powder, but it's still a sugar alcohol. There are three main sugar alcohols. There is erythritol, like in this jar. There is xylitol, also called birch sugar. And there is sorbitol. All of these sugar alcohols are common and are appearing in the natural world. If you overconsume them, especially sorbitol and xylitol, you can get some laxative effect. Now, in this mix, it's actually erythritol with a little bit of xylitol and a little bit of stevia. So this thing is as sweet as sugar. Now, making a simple syrup is actually very easy. And what we need is hot water, a saucepan, like this one here. We need a kind of glass bottle or something. I took this old empty gin bottle. And you want to make sure that it's just about the right size. Now, this is half a liter, and we're going to make 400 milliliters of this stuff. And if you use cups or deciliters, it doesn't really matter, because it's so, the ratio is so simple. So, as said, it's very simple. The ratio is extremely simple here. I'm going to measure up here a little bit of preheated water. I measured up 200 milliliters, so 2 deciliters, and the ratio is very simple. It's basically 1-to-1 with regular sugar. Now, dependent on the sweetener you use, the ratio might be a little bit different. Here we have erythritol, but it's actually a little bit of xylitol in here too, and there is also some stevia. So it's actually designed to be 1-to-1. So I'm going to put in 2 deciliters of this, because I have 2 deciliters of water. So then I have 1-to-1 ratio. I'm going to pour this into a saucepan and boil up until we can dissolve it. Now, if you put xylitol in here instead, the ratio is also 1-to-1. That's as sweet as sugar. Now, if you use sorbitol, I think you need quite a bit more, but that's a little bit laxative, so sorbitol you should be careful a bit with. And erythritol, if you're using raw erythritol with no additives of any kind, it's 70% as sweet as sugar. So, for every deciliter, for every deciliter of water, you will have 1 deciliter and a third. So, for example, here I have 2 deciliters of water initially, and then I would need 2 deciliters of, my sweetener. But because I need to add a third to it, I will thus need 0.66, so basically a little bit more than half a deciliter more. Now, but this is 1-to-1 ratio, so I can put it in my saucepan and dissolve. So now you'll just need to bring it up to boil. If you use an old electric like me, you can probably just drag it up to full force and boil it until everything is dissolved. If you're using gas or induction, medium-high is probably more appropriate. In the meantime, we can prepare the bottle a little bit. You will of course use a funnel to make sure everything gets down there. And we want to bring this to a boil because we want to make sure that any potential residual bacteria or anything like that in the water actually dies before we put it in the bottle. Now, simple syrup, it is said that it has a shelf life of around a month in the fridge. It probably survives longer than that, especially when you use sugar alcohols like erythritol or xylitol and sorbitol, because they all have a little bit of an antibacterial effect. So, yeah, like erythritol can't go bad, neither can xylitol. And there we are boiling. It boils a little bit differently than sugar, so make sure it doesn't boil over. We can just put it aside and see if we can make sure it actually is dissolved when it has cooled down a little bit. So just let it cool enough to not crack your water bottle or your simple syrup bottle. And there we go, it's slightly cooled a little bit. Dependent on your sugar alcohol has any type of additives like mine or not, it may be clear or not, but well, if yours is a little bit opaque like mine, that's normal. And there we go! A keto-friendly and diabetics-friendly simple syrup that you can more easily mix drinks with. If you enjoyed this little episode, please check out my others in the Gmodism drinks playlist, and well, I guess I'll see you next time. This is your host, Gmodism. Subscribe. Signing out.